names, just spell them. I mean, they're already unique and they're already cute. They already look like a 16-year-old mom who was like, oh, I have a baby, I'm gonna name her. They already look like that. Can you please just spell them? Spell them like they sound. And stop adding different I's and A's and apostrophes and all that accent marks, right? Because a lot of times you add those, it totally changes the name. Like I know a Simone, and the mom added an extra E and an extra I and an accent. And her name comes out to Simone. And it's supposed to be Simone. There are a lot of people that have, in my era, it was the Ishas, the Keisha, Shakrisha, Laisha, Aisha. It was the Ishas. And at the end, it would be SHA. But now everybody is an Aliyah. Aliyah, Maliyah, Taliyah, Shaliyah. Everything has got Aliyah in it. And then people be adding extra A's and I's in the names. The kids can't spell them, and neither can the teachers, because most of them go by nicknames because the name will have 17 letters in it. And 17 letters don't usually fit in the name line, right? So most of the kids be like, oh, just put Z on there, or just put Iya or Yahya or something. And then when it comes time to really spell out their name, I'm like, if your name, why do you have to have a I-A-I, L-I-Y-I-A-H on anything? Why do you need an extra A and an I? And I was like, man, to just make a name, a cute name, to just make a name hard to spell. And I remember someone saying, well, I want people to remember my kid. Okay, I have a unique name, and let me tell you what I learned. I learned that when people can't pronounce your name, they skip over it. It's just like whenever you're reading a book. If you're reading a book and you come to a word that you can't pronounce, you don't know what it is, you're taught to skip over it and try to find meaning in other parts of the paragraph or the sentence. It's the same thing with names. And I remember once with my birth name, I remember once being in school and I was in the library and I had won, they were pulling names of kids to win a book. And I was so excited. And I just happened to be in the library, just kind of in there doing something. And my class wasn't in there. And I heard the two librarians pull out my name. And I know they were trying to pronounce it. And I was so excited. They were like, pull out the name. And they were like, because it's not Candace, right? They're like, and trying to pronounce it right. And then finally they were like, you know, just get another name out there that we can pronounce. And they took my name and put it back in the pot and pulled somebody else's name out. And that was the day, and I didn't say anything, but that was the day that I realized that my parents are giving me a name that's so unique that people just skip over it than to try to pronounce it, rather than get laughed at or get yelled at for pronouncing someone's name wrong. And I know I find myself doing it. If it's a name and it's not making sense, now if it's a name and it's got a bunch of letters in it and it's making sense, but if it's got I-A-A-I-A-Y-I-A, if it's got all of that in it, I am going to just skip over it and just go to Mary. Can Mary please come up? So when you're giving kids unique names, your name, people should recognize the child. They should remember, I want to be remembered because of me and my traits, not remembered because I have a weird name. And that's what a lot of people think. And it's usually the people that's named Mary that will name their kids Shalaka Ikakaka, right? Because you think that you thought it was cute. And those of us that have unique names or ghetto names, kids are ashamed of that. Like, you think that it's cute, but they're ashamed of their names. Like, whenever the substitute comes and is pronouncing their names, I remember I used to hate for a substitute to come. All the kids would want an opportunity to laugh at something. And so every time the substitute would come to my name and a few others, but my name, they'd be like, not able to, and all the kids, and as a child, I took that as them laughing at me. And I used to hate that. And even now, whenever I call somewhere and I have to give my legal name, I will say what my social security number is. I will say what my student ID is and immediately pronounce the name because I know ain't nobody going to be able to pronounce it. And I still have issues and hangups about people pronouncing it wrong and people laughing about it or people looking at it. Like, I mean, you guys don't think about that. Like, I don't know where people got the idea that that was just so cute, right? Okay, Barack Obama, it's still a weird name. He can get away with it. He became the president. Oprah, still a weird name. Okay, if they become somebody famous, Beyonce or something like that, it's cool. But 99.9% of the population, they're not going to be known by one name. They're going to have that weird name that you gave them that you thought was cute because you didn't realize that they was going to grow up. And you just always thought, Starisha la kaka, la la mama. It's cute when they're a baby and you're 16 with a baby on your hip telling all the teenagers that your baby's name is. But when they get older, don't nobody want no weird, funny name. And I'll tell you the last thing about this is when I first became a reporter and I was using my legal name. And the element of surprise is what a lot of people play upon. So the other reporters would call to speak to the mayor. Hey, Mayor, Mary wants to speak to you. Mary? Yeah, this is Mary with channel such and such, such and such. And I wanted to ask you. And every time that I would call, they would know exactly who I was. Every time I would call, they would know exactly who I was. And I remember one time in college, I wrote a hot check. Well, I had a check that bounced. You know how you'd be waiting for your financial aid to come in? And I went to Walmart and wrote a check for a bunch of stuff. And everybody would do it. They would go and then write out a check. And because in the places that I lived, they had food in them at the time. So you would go and get everything you needed for your dorm and all the food and everything. And then it might bounce, but that's just like a $25 loan because I think it was $25 or $15 at that time. So I wrote the check knowing that it was going to bounce, but knew that I could pay it 2 days later. So it was no big deal. Oh my God, because my name was unique. The people at the bank recognized it was me and they're like, oh, that's the girl, that's the campus queen. And she's written a hot check. And the next thing I know, the vice president of the school is calling me. Is everything okay? You're a queen at our school and you're writing hot checks. That's not a good look. Sometimes people, especially black women, we need to be able to move in silence. And when you give us a very loud name, we can't move in silence. I remember one time I had flunked a class in college and I was trying to go back and take it online. And I called, and at that time you had to call, and the person on the phone was like, wait a minute, aren't you the girl that was in the state Miss America pageant? Because my name was so weird and unique, right? So give your kids a name that you like, but a name that they'll like. And give them a name. Let them be loud with their personality and their good deeds and their actions. Not loud and just known because people are, why she got 18 letters in her name? YIAHAKLM